Okay, welcome. So, I think the best way to go on to this is, I don't know, guess I'll just let it flow, see where it goes. Maybe I should start with what enlightenment means and how I perceive that. And maybe other people have different understanding of what enlightened means. And here I say, just a reminder or a small disclaimer to people is that I do not know the answer to it. I know the answer for myself to it. What I see and understand what enlightenment means is to enlighten from our problems. And to fully be enlightened, like the Buddha, is to unravel from all the conditions, from the idea of the self, the ego, and that will bring enlightenment. How it feels like, I can only tell you from my perspective how it feels like. Because in the end, I have no idea how far I am. I have no idea that where I'm at is the end stage. But I would say from my perspective, no. I think there's way more to discover, way more to feel, and to, I would say, feel. Because in the end, for me, it's about feeling free, feeling full, fuller. Schatje, wat moet je doen? Ik heb niks te doen. And that to me... Ja, dat kan niet, schatje. Papa is niet aan het schoonmaken. Dus papa kan nou niet met jou spelen. Kan mama geen boekje voor je lezen? Ga je dan een lekker boekje lezen met mama dan? En papa kan je nou niet spelen, schatje. Papa is nu lekker aan het schoonmaken. Heel goed. Kan papa als hij klaar is met schoonmaken, kan papa nog met jou een boekje lezen? Wat zeg je? Ja. Ja, dat kan je niet doen, schatje, anders gaat het kapot. But to go back on where I was, is that enlightenment to itself will... No. Laat het maar staan, schatje. Nee, laat het staan. Nee, niks. Gewoon laten staan, schatje. Maar zo kan ik het niet. Ja, maar je hoeft het ook niet te zien. Andere mensen kunnen dit zien. Jij hoeft dat niet te zien, schatje. Nee, niet aanraken. Joas, wat zegt papa nou? Hé, wat zegt papa nou? Dankjewel. And that to me is, so going back to enlightenment, is the more you unpeel, the more you unlayer, the more you understand who you are, the more who you are, the fuller you become. Like if the conditions, if the ego is saying that this is what I am, and that's a false sense of self. But if you can truly feel who you are and how you want to experience life, I think it's authenticity that comes with it. I think the Buddha to itself is a mythical creature, I would say. I'm not saying that he's not real or that he wasn't real. I'm saying that if I were to try to understand who the Buddha was, I think one from non duality, so outside of duality, outside of the fight, outside of this earthly experience, but as an observer of what is happening. And not per se interfering with the world, but just being that which is the Buddha. But for this earthly existence, for who we are, do we have to become the Buddha? I think we can reach a state of the Buddha. I don't think, from my perspective, that I would want to be one, because that would mean that I have to detach myself from this earthly needs, and that I can just be free of everything, to not want to have anything. And that's a beautiful state of being, because then you can be free, right? You can be in peace. You feel harmony. So how does one be in that state, non-attached, but still within the play of existence, or this earthly existence? To have a wife, to have kids and all of that. Like, how does that look like? Truly free, truly happy, minding its own business, knowing that there's war on the other side of the world, and understanding that's a part of life. That fights, struggle, stress, suffering, that it's all a part of life, and that he doesn't have to be attached to it, because seeking to eliminate it is going to make sure that you're going to suffer even more. Now, the question then is, why is that, right? It means you have to change everyone. You have to educate everyone. Every single human being will have to become the Buddha for there to be no suffering. And if there's no suffering, then how does the world look like? Unity, peace, harmony. But is there a need to create something? In gentleness, maybe? In love? In peace? But what happens if there's another race or another world, I mean alien race or whatever, coming to our land, and we're all peaceful and stuff, and they're not that peaceful? Would that help our world? I don't think so, right? So maybe that's why we need suffering. Maybe that's why we need duality, in order for us to understand how to protect ourselves, so that when something like that happens, that we at least have something to protect ourselves. And that's a weird realization, because I came from a point where I thought, no guns, no nothing, and that's the way of peace. But then I start seeing that civilizations collapse because there's people who want to live in peace, but other people might not, and they want to take things, they want to steal things. And it's the bad people who then force you to be bad as well, force you to kill as well. And that's a painful realization. Is that also for me, at one point, there's people who don't know how to deal with your kindness, who don't know how to deal with your gentleness. So they hurt you with their hurt. So then me will have to figure out, how do I protect myself from their pain? This is when I start learning about boundaries and things to let go of and to say no to people who bring me their suffering, their pains. And maybe the best example to give you as an analogy is like you have found heaven, you have created heaven within yourself. And then someone comes in and tries to destroy all of that because they don't know how to handle peace, they don't know how to handle goodness and how to be in paradise. So they try to burn down everything with their pain. Not consciously, of course. I don't think they want to burn down paradise. I just don't think they know what it means to be in paradise. Like, if the way that we talk is already from pain and from struggles and from trying to destroy one another, like, for example, gossip is one of those things. Cursing towards one another is one of those things. And that's not fitting what the Buddha called nirvana or heaven or whatever frequency, whatever peaceful place it might be. Because we tell our children not to curse and not to do this and that, but then we still curse and do this and that. So to stay in a certain frequency, it means you have to vibrate in that way or speak that way. But here comes the hard reality, right? Let's say we or a country becomes this way, and the other country is still in a mode of trying to steal or not knowing how to deal with it and try to change you or change the way that you live because they're jealous or whatever, and then they try to bomb you. So now comes the opposite of light, darkness, or say darkness. I would say destructive energy. And maybe we have a misconception about the Buddha, or maybe we have a misconception or idea what the Buddha means. Because if he understands duality, then he understands the necessary things to protect himself, right? At least I do as a man. In order for me to protect my family, I have to become a version of me that has to protect its peace, to protect its love. And that again is a harsh reality. Because then we have to let go of the temporary or the peace that we feel within ourselves. And the problem is that we can turn into the beast, right? I think Jordan Peterson said this. In order for you to protect yourself, you have to become that animal, you have to become that beast. And most of the times when you become that beast, or capable of being that beast, a lot of people won't touch you. So let's go deeper in this one, right? Let's say our country understood that we have to protect ourselves. So we create weapons of mass destruction, not per se to destroy, but to defend. It means whenever people outside of us wants to do something, we have the capabilities to defend ourselves, but also the capabilities to give back the energy that they want to do to us, so that they know, don't touch our land, don't touch our family. And it's a exchange of energy, like an equal exchange, if necessary, but maybe not per se, because then there's a warning and a second warning. Maybe the third warning should be absolute. And this is where I am with my own understanding of life. Is that being only in peace will reject the warrior of this world. If you only are in the warrior, you will probably reject the love of this world and the peace. So there's a balance in everything. We need the lover and the warrior to coexist and still understand that we both need each other for us to survive, for us to live, for us to be happy. Because if I'm only a lover and I don't know how to protect myself, then a warrior can come in and take away that love. So I have to become someone that can protect my own love. So that's why martial arts and all the other beautiful practices can keep you in peace. I think there was a quote somewhere, it's better to be a warrior in peacetime than a gardener in wartime. Something like that, right? I think for women, especially in these days, they they are getting more in the masculine energy, of course, because of society and how it now operates. Maybe that's also part of the evolution of mankind, just to become balanced, to understand that we have both energies within us and that we are capable, not to say capable as the same in biology, but for example, I can be very hard, but if I connect and stay connected to my softness, I won't destroy, I won't kill. But if I lose that part of myself, the yin to my yang, or my yang to my yin, then, it's to the extreme. And then we lose sight of one or the other. And probably that's the same with the warrior and the lover, right? So, what does a evolved human being look like then? The woman that knows how to protect herself, give strong boundaries, is emotionally stable, emotionally clear in how she is, what she wants, etc. But she can be in that softness fully, but knowing that the other part is necessary as well. And the masculine, absolute in the things that it is, a warrior and a lover at the same time, so that we know that we can be peaceful, that we know we don't have to destroy, that we know that we can communicate, that we can connect with our feminine inside, our emotions, that we can speak our emotions, that we don't explode because we don't know how to communicate our emotions, etc. Vice versa, also in a woman. If we know how to be clear in who we are in our energy, that can balance out the world, that can balance out in who you are. And to go deeper in this whole understanding is that light and darkness has been playing this story for quite some time to really understand the suffering in order for us to stop the suffering, right? Because at one point we had enough. I think that's the cycle of change, of transformation. There will always be a point in human condition, human psyche, that we are at a point of, you know what, I'm done with this loop. The Buddha called this the samsara. And then you stop. You say no more. But then we need a solution to that problem, because that's the only way to fix whatever that we are. Because without solutions, the loop will still be there. Frustration will still be there. But becoming aware of the problem to itself can help a lot, because now you can question yourself. What is it then that we have to do in order for us to be in peace with each other? Let's say stop fearing each other. But then you say, what is it then that we have to stop fearing? And then we have to question ourselves, what do I fear in someone else? And be very honest. What do we fear in each other? That we are capable of destroying each other, capable of hurting each other, capable of killing each other, capable of being cunning, capable of manipulation, etc., etc. And on the other side, we are capable to love each other in such an unconditional way that that is the beauty as a human being as well. So how can we resolve that? We have to tell the truth. We have to speak the truth, no matter what, to ourselves and to the other. Because that's how we resolve issues. By lying means we cannot resolve the issue. We don't see the lesson. So from a higher perspective, we see the lessons. Lower perspective, you see a problem, you see the victim. So when you zoom out, you can look at the problem, and then you can say, okay, so what does the problem wants to tell us? What is the story? So most textbook on school, we have a story, right? And that story will then allow us to see the problem. And once we see the problem, we can look for a solution. Now, Einstein once said, you cannot resolve a problem in the same layer that was created. So that means we have to transcend the loop. And how does that look like? How does that feel like? It means one of us, one of the human beings on this beautiful planet, will have to break that cycle internally with himself, with the wars that we have with each other. And either that means we have to connect to the divine source that can love in such a way that there is only love and nothing but love, and that everyone can feel that same love, so that they can feel the love instead of the hate. They can see an opportunity to change instead of you're the cause of all of this. And I feel like this is where it's very difficult, because that means you have to forgive everyone on this planet, right? Everyone, even the one that causes all of this. And that is a challenge. Maybe that's what full enlightenment means, is to unravel to such a high degree, to understand in such a high love, that you understand why a person would do something like that to themselves and to other people, and then still see the divine plan of all of it. Because if you see the divine plan, it means you see why these things are happening, so that human beings, or that we, souls, can learn from the suffering, so that we can evolve from suffering. And then once you learn from it, you don't go back. And maybe that's the reason why we suffer now. Because it's the same with learning how to walk, right? Like learning how to walk, in the beginning, I have no idea, but probably it was awful. It's fun somewhere. You have to train bit by bit your muscles in order for you to find balance. And in that balance, in that equilibrium that you feel within yourself, then eventually you're steady. And that's also with human beings at one point in totality, is that they're trying to find balance in all of this, in good and evil, or maybe I should rephrase good and evil into falling and standing back up and seeing what does work and what doesn't work. If human beings evolve from a state where we have to manipulate to get to the place that we are, that means we have to let go of that. We have to learn from that. And the good people that didn't want to fight, they died off because they were too good. So we have to understand that being too good will also destroy ourselves at one point. So we have to find a middle way. You have to know how to pick up that sword when necessary and drop down the sword when necessary. And that is, for me, a very painful thing to understand because I still have problems with it. You know, in a utopia, you wish that we could just stop fighting altogether. But reality will tell me differently. Because reality, there's people who consciously choose to be evil. And consciously choosing evil means they have chosen to do bad to others, while others do unconsciously. And that to itself is where my forgiveness can still be. But consciously doing so, maybe this is what Jesus talked about with a sin that can never be forgiven. When you consciously keeps on doing it. And that brings a heavy heart to me. Because then I think, okay, but how can you forgive something like that then? Maybe you come back to the divine plan. In order for people to understand evil, they have to see evil. To understand good, they have to see evil and be good at the same time. To want to choose good, they have to experience evilness. To choose life, they have to experience death or see death. So in the end, for me, it's about acceptance. Acceptance that it is what it is. That everyone has their role to play. And how much you want to change the outside. Everyone will play their role in their own time. Even if you were to blow up 3/4 of the world, maybe that DNA, maybe that mindset, maybe that thing that was creating the same world will still be there. And then again, you will repeat the same cycle. It's the same with going to Mars, bringing the same people to Mars, and repeating the same cycle over there, because you don't learn anything from it. If you destroy your land where you came from, and then move out again, where you rape the resources of a planet from your own planet, your own home, Mother Earth, and then leave it. And that to me is where we have to learn all together, right? We have to say no to that. I think Avatar, the movie, shows a very beautiful picture to that. Something that we need to stop, something that we need to become aware of. And awareness will bring so much more to light. But awareness alone will not stop anything. Doing it, being it, that will stop something, right? But then you have to become almost like a perfect human being. But I wouldn't say that that is necessary. I would say if everyone were to change something in their own behavior, in their own mindset and way of doing things in life, then that to itself will change the world, like in an instant. And let's say everyone were to tune in into peace for one day, just the frequency of peace, not to hate, not to do anything, just breathe, just be. That would change the world in one day. But that would you would need something very catastrophic. Am I saying it correctly? No, probably not. I butchered that very hard, probably. A cast off? What? No, I'm not even gonna try. Let me change the word. An apocalypse. You need an apocalypse for people to go like, oh yeah, maybe I should start thinking about. And that to me is what happened in our world. We had COVID, we had Russia, We have Palestine, Israel. We have other proxy wars somewhere else. All these small little wars happening because we'll still have no idea how to be in peace together. And I think the Buddha took it to himself and said, okay, if I can be in peace with me, if I can be in peace with everyone else, then there's a way for us to reach. And that's the only thing I can do because I have zero control over anyone else. I have no idea, man. So, in the end, I think Michael Jackson said this, other people say this. It starts with you and I. And the more you and I become that version that we all want in someone else, then the mirror is so much easier for other people to see. The children will then have examples of peace. They have examples of who they want to grow up to be, especially when all those beautiful people then do things in life that is of beauty, that is for human species, for each other, for the planet, for innovation, for things that get people curious about life and creation instead of all this grayness and repetitive creations and repetitive cycles of doing the same things over and over again, but nothing changing truly. So I don't know if I want to go and talk about Russia and Ukraine or Israel or Palestine and other things in on this planet, because in the end, it's not per se about hey, schatje. Ja. Ja, ga maar passen. Oh, mama, ja, ga maar. And I think we have solutions. I just don't think the ego want to hear the solution. I think the ego wants to protect its own story, protect its own dream or whatever that it wants to take control, to have power, to believe. Because in the end, it's about their belief against someone else's belief, right? And until they get what they want, they will not stop until someone else stops them. And this is where, again, war happens. If the other party cannot defend itself, then it's easy. They take over, the victor writes the story, and then in 150 years, that story has changed. No one knows that they are actually the one that is the enemy or the one that destroyed someone else for whatever belief and ideas they have. And that cycle will repeat because their offsprings might well do the same because that's what they have been taught to do, to see other people as something lower or less. And that is dangerous, but What can you do about it? Go to war? Do other stupid things in order for us to create more hate? See, this is where the problem is, right? Reality. That means at one point something needs to stop. This loop needs to stop. And how do you stop this loop? You have to make them become aware. Everyone on this planet has to become aware of what's happening and then not participate in that. And that to itself is also very difficult, especially when we see it everywhere. It's like we have to pick a side or whatever. We have to. It's almost like they want the big explosion to happen. So if they want this gigantic war to happen, maybe because there's overpopulation, maybe because they can't control us anymore, maybe because people are waking up to the truth and they want to hide the truth from happening, from seeing. And that's my speculation. Oh, wait, now I do something a little bit out of the ordinary, but hey. So I'm done cleaning. I will have to see how do I continue in this story. I would say focus on creating something good. Focus on building a life, a community, be the version that we want to see in the world. Be peaceful, be kind, be loving, but be honest. Give a boundary. Say no to the people who are trying to change that in you, the peaceful you, the loving side of you. And know that there's a consequence to pushing you. And this is the only way to stop people like that from happening. Because if they know that they can walk over you because you don't have the capabilities nor power to stop them, it means they can do whatever they want, always. But when we stop playing this game that they created for us, then they will lose power at one point. I don't know, somewhere they're trying. China is trying, India is trying, Africa is trying, Russia is trying, everyone is trying for that game to stop. But that creates friction because they don't want that game to stop. And because they don't want that game to stop, we're close to points where a big fight will happen. And let's pray that doesn't happen, right? Let's pray that we can defeat it in a different way. In a way where the old way collapses and then the new way will be for human species, for this beautiful planet. But to get to that point, we have to understand what we don't want anymore. Same with our own life. We have to understand what I don't want in my life, to not repeat the same painful things that I do to myself. And the more I can do that, the more there's an example. So again, it starts with us. And the more we can do this with us, with me, I can then say no to them, because then I know what game they are playing. Because if I understand what game I'm playing with myself, to lie and deceive, to still do exactly the things that they want us to do, then I'm a part of that. I'm a part of the problem. So being accountable and not be the part of the problem, and yes, it's difficult. It's very difficult. But that makes everyone to not want to do it because it's difficult. It's easier to do the things that we do all the time that might not be good for us. And I feel this is where true peace can happen, or true happiness. Not temporary, at all these fluctuation of happiness by buying something, by getting this, by getting that. But true happiness within. Yeah, that's all. Guess that's all. Thank you very much for watching. I'll clean up my kitchen. And have a very beautiful day, beautiful night. Hi, bro. What's up? What can I do for you, Ryan? What's up? Talk to me, Ryan. Talk to me. How's life? Well, if you have nothing to say, I will go again. Well, at least thank you for watching and leaving a like. If you don't know me already, please follow me, subscribe, and maybe see you next time. And I hope you had something of worth that I shared with you. And if not, also fine. Have a very, very beautiful day and a beautiful journey on this life. And maybe see you next time.